Secrets of the Ottoman Harem and the Power of Women in the Palace. The life inside the Ottoman harem has always intrigued historians and researchers, as the Ottoman palaces hid behind their walls a world full of complex stories and intertwined ambitions. The concubines were not just servants in the palace but were part of a unique political and social system, with some rising to the highest levels of power. In this article, we explore the details of their lives, from training and education to love and the hidden struggles that shaped their fate. The arrival of concubines to the Ottoman palace marked the beginning of a new life full of mystery and opportunities. Most of them were bought from slave markets or presented as gifts to the Sultan, but this was not the end of their story, but rather the beginning. Once they entered the harem, they underwent strict training in manners and etiquette, learning languages and arts. Some accepted their fate, while others dreamed of rising and getting closer to the Sultan's circle. The harem was not just a place for women, it was a complex institution governed by a strict system. The Valid Sultan, the Sultan's mother, had the greatest influence, managing the concubines and deciding who would be close to the Sultan. Among the golden hallways and decorated rooms, competition was fierce as each concubine vied for the Sultan's favor, not just for a lavish life but to secure her future within the palace. Although the harem was a place of isolation, the concubines were key players in Ottoman politics. When the Sultan fell in love with one of them, it was not just a romantic affair but could mark the beginning of major political changes. Concubines who bore the Sultan's children enjoyed special status, and competition among them grew to secure the future of their sons. Some were involved in conspiracies, while others fell victim to the deadly intrigues of the palace. Life in the harem was not limited to conspiracies and rivalries, as the concubines were also educated in music, poetry, dance, and sometimes philosophy. These skills were not merely for entertainment, they were tools to impress the Sultan and secure a place in the palace. Many concubines became patrons of the arts and influenced the cultural taste of the Ottoman court, contributing to the development of the empire's arts and architecture. Although the harem was a place of luxury, some concubines could not bear the life of isolation and strict rules. A few tried to escape, despite the harsh punishments that awaited them. One of the most famous stories is of a Greek concubine who attempted to escape through a secret tunnel but was caught and sent into exile within the palace itself. For some, escape was not an option, and they had to use their intelligence to survive within the palace's complex system. Behind the velvet curtains, concubines sometimes wielded indirect power. Some were able to influence political decisions through their relationships with ministers or princes. For example, Sultan Kösem, a former concubine, became one of the most powerful women in Ottoman history, ruling from behind the scenes and influencing the appointment of sultans. The harem was not just a place of pleasure but a stage for influence and power that shaped the empire's policies. Not all concubines were fortunate enough to rise to the top, and many spent their lives waiting for an opportunity that never came. Some were sent to secondary palaces, where they lived a quieter life away from power. Former favorites who lost their status were relegated to the palace's back wings, isolated from the world. However, their stories lived on, etched in the memory of Ottoman history. The Ottoman harem continues to spark debate among historians, with some viewing it as a symbol of hidden female power and others seeing it as a prison imposed on women within the palace. Over time, images of the harem have filled literature and cinema, some based on reality and others purely fictional. However, the truth remains that concubines played crucial roles in the empire's history, leaving an indelible mark on Ottoman history.